Hi there, welcome to this video. We are going to be looking today at doing some data mapping with latitude and longitude in Power BI. Now, I don't know if you have seen the two previous videos in this series. We were looking at doing a butterfly survey in Excel and creating some charts from that data, pivot tables and pivot charts. But with this one, I would like to show you something the Power BI can do that Excel can't do, which is to map by latitude and longitude. So I have got my data set here, which is, I'm saying this is a class. They've been sent out on some kind of nature survey. They've collected data about 15 different types of butterfly. And we've added that into a table so that we can do some analysis on it. The latitude and longitude columns are remarkably easy to get, actually. When you are on Google Maps, you can, if you're on a phone, you use your finger. If you are on a laptop or a desktop or whatever, you can right click and there is a latitude longitude option. If you do it on your phone, you can drop a pin and then you can find out what the latitude and longitude of that pin is. So I'm assuming that we've gone through and we've collected the locations where we were when we saw these different types of butterfly. And now what we're going to do is kind of hoover this data up into Power BI and plot this on a map. So I'm going to come out of my Excel spreadsheet because I need to make sure that my Excel spreadsheet is closed. And then I'm going to open a new report in Power BI. So I'm going to start with a blank report and choose Excel workbook as my source. And I've called this one version 3 because I've been playing with it. So I've done a few different versions. And the first thing it will do is it will ask you which sheet within that Excel book you want. And as it happens, I've only got the one. So I've just got to tick this one and it gives you a little preview of the data. But if you had multiple sheets, you can kind of click through and preview until you find the right one. And then I'm going to choose transform data. And that should bring my data up into Power Query, which is part of Power BI. And just check through and make sure you haven't got any weird errors or anything happening. And you can check along the top here to make sure that your columns are being recognized as the right sort of data. Can you see if it's got a 1, 2, 3 next to it? It thinks it's a number. If it's got an ABC next to it, it thinks it's text. If I scoot a little bit this way, you can see a date has recognized it as a date because it's got a little calendar symbol. And these are all things that you can fix if Power BI doesn't recognize them automatically. But in my case, it's done it swimmingly. So I'm just going to choose close and apply. And then I should be able to draw my map. It's taking a few seconds to load because I don't have massive amounts of data. I think I've got about 500 rows of data. And then we're looking for this visualizations pane. It might be folded up at the moment, in which case you can just choose its little triangles to unfold it. And the map, the one I'm going to choose, is called Azure Maps. And I'm just going to click on that and it creates a teeny weeny little map in the corner. So I'm just going to stretch it and make it as big as I can get away with. Now, on the right-hand side, there is a pane called Data. And again, that might be folded up, so you need to make sure you can see your data pane properly. And if I choose that little greater than sign, this is the fields that live within my butterfly spotter table. And I've got one called latitude and one called longitude. And can you see there are fields for them down here? And you literally drag latitude onto latitude. Try that again. And longitude onto longitude. And let me try that again. There we go. And let's say we will have common name is the name of the butterfly. So I'm going to pop that in my legend. And can you see it's zoomed in? I happen to live in Welwyn Garden City, so I've plotted these in Welwyn Garden City. Every time it's found a record, it's just made a little spot. And because I've got the common name on the legend, it's picking up a different colour for each type of butterfly. And if I zoom in on a little section, you'll see as I hover over each little spot, you'll get something called a tooltip coming up. Eventually, mine's having a little think as it processes the data. There we go. So it's going, oh, that was a painted lady, and this is the position that it was spotted. Now, what it would be nice to see is, first of all, the name of the student that spotted it, and secondly, how many they spotted, because there might have been a group of them together that's plotted as one group. So if I scoot down a little bit on my visualizations pane, there's a section called tooltips, and that's what happens when you hover over a little spot. So I'm going to say I would like the name. Now, the name is not the name of the butterfly now. This is the name of the student. And if I choose this how many field, I could pop that on tooltips as well, because you can have multiple things on your tooltip. And then as I zoom back in again, you can see if I hover over a spot, there we go. It's showing me you saw a brimstone on this location. It was Jack and he saw 2 or whatever. Now, the other thing that you can do with maps is you can add what they call slicers. So you don't have to see all your data on the map at the same time. You could see it split down by type of butterfly or student or whatever you like. Now, be careful when you do this to create your second visual. Just click onto the background here to make sure the map isn't selected. Otherwise, you overwrite the map with the next visual that you create. And then over on the right hand side here, you're looking for a button called slicer that's got a sort of table symbol with a little kind of funnel in front of it. And I'm just going to drag and drop, let's say, the common name onto my slicer. And what that means is I can just choose a specific type of butterfly and it will show us where we saw that individual one. And if I click on him again, it's then showing all the different species at once. And actually, you can hold down your control key and choose multiple options if you want to. And that allows you to see 2 or 3 different species at a time. Now, I'm just going to make this a little bit narrower because I want room on my report for the student name. And again, I'm going to make sure I've clicked on the background so that I haven't got anything else selected. Go get myself a slicer. And this time the name means the name of the student rather than the name of the butterfly. And as I choose an individual student, you can see where they recorded their spots. Now, personally, I think that's lovely, but I wanted to show you one other type of map that you might prefer. I kind of like this one because it's coloured in with different species, but I wanted to show you another alternative. I'm going to just choose my little plus sign at the bottom here so that I get an additional page. And then I'm going to do another Azure map. And again, I'll make it about the same size. And then I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time. So latitude to latitude, longitude to longitude, and common name in the legend. So it looks the same as it did last time, really. Now, on the visualizations pane, I'm currently on something that says add data to your visual, which is where we were getting to put the latitude and longitude and so on. But there's one with a little paintbrush called format your visual. And on there is an option called markers layer. And these are the markers. And at the moment, the icon is set to a little circle. But if you choose the drop down arrow, there's lots of different options. So I could have it as a little push pin, or I could have it as a little flag, or whatever you thought was most appropriate. And if I zoom that in, you can see it's picked up the colours and so on. There is an option for image. Now, images are a little bit tricky in Power BI because normally speaking, you need to host them somewhere that they can be shared. So they need to be stored on a website or something like that. But what I'm going to do is, rather than doing one that's stored on a website, I'm going to choose a file type called SVG, and I'll show you what my SVG looks like. This is an SVG. It's a very simple little drawing of a butterfly rather than a photograph. And what I've done is I've opened it in Notepad, which looks very bizarre because it's just a load of code. But I'm just going to go Control A in my Notepad window and Control C. So I've copied all that code. So rather in there, I'm going to put the code in here. So I'm just going to click in there and do Control V. And can you see what it's done? I'll have to zoom in a bit so you can see what they've done. But each little image now is a tiny little butterfly shape. And again, I could get that option for tooltips. If I go back to the Add Data to Your Visual button, do you remember if we scroll down a little bit, there was a tooltips option. What I can do is I can put, let's say, the student name and how many did they spot. And again, if I can zoom in, you'll see as I hover over each of those little butterfly symbols, it will give me that tooltip information. Now, what I've done here is I've dragged the how many column into an option called size. And it means if they saw a big group of butterflies, they get a bigger symbol. So can you see that one was 7? If I choose one of the little small butterflies, oh, that was only 1. This medium-sized one, that was 6, and so on. So you can use this size option to pick up the quantity. So if quantity is more important than which type of species it was. Now the only thing is this legend at the top here doesn't make much sense now because it's not got the little coloured spots anymore. So I think I'm going to turn that legend off because I think it's a bit misleading. So I'm going to go back to the Build My Visual, and there is an option called Legend, and I'm just going to switch that off, and then I will just see my little black butterflies. And again, I'm going to click on the background, and this time I'm going to have one slicer for the common name, just like we did last time, and click on my background, and another slicer for the student's name, which is that one. And then I can see, just show me painted ladies, and if I hover over it, I'll make sure a student that we've actually got, let's say Charlie, and then both of those can be true. So we only see butterflies of a certain species that were spotted by a certain person. And again, you can hold your control key down on your keyboard so that you can select multiple people if you wanted to. And that's how clever Power BI is. Thank you very much for watching.